Thank you all for joining the showcase. I know that as leaders in your organization, you all are really busy, and we're honored to have your time. And so, in return, we will honor your time, add as much value as possible. I want to cast a little bit of vision. So, I'm David Ward, Director of Marketing for WildSpark. And the reason that you're invited here is really want to just cast vision for where WildSpark's going, but also what's accessible to you today and what we're building. We all know that leadership development is evolving, and it's not because the fundamentals have changed, but because the world that the leaders operate in has. So today's managers are navigating hybrid teams, constant change, burnout, pressure to do more with less. And traditional training still matters, but that training often shows up as an event or at a set time, while leadership challenges show up on a random Tuesday at 11:35 a.m. So that's why WildSpark is evolving with this landscape. Our direction with AI is about building a smarter system around the development you already believe in. So learning doesn't stay just theoretical, and support shows up in the flow of work. Momentum stays steady. So just to be clear, AI is not replacing the WildSpark strategy. It's amplifying it through personalization, accessibility, and further accountability, helping your leaders turn lessons into real next steps, get coaching in the moments they need it, and really stay engaged without you having to be the reminder system for moving forward in WildSpark. So because you're our product champions, org execs, we want you to see the full functionality so you can guide adoption and help your leaders really get the most value out of how WildSpark can develop and equip them to lead well. So with that, I'm incredibly excited to hand it over to Rachel, our Director of Product, to walk through the capabilities live. Drop questions in the chat as we go. We'll save time for Q&A at the end. Without further ado, Rachel.
Thanks, David. And hey, everyone, we're so glad that you've made the time to be with us today. There are so many of you on the call that I've gotten to talk to about what WildSpark looks like at your organization and how your people are growing, how it's changing your culture, and all of the things that you wish WildSpark could do and you'd like to see in our product to make your life easier, to make your organization have a richer leadership culture. So I am so excited to share with you today all of the recent AI-powered features that we've created, and like David said, that are going to enable your people to have more personalized coaching and to drive action from what they're learning in the platform. So this will be pretty informal in terms of me being able to open up WildSpark and talk to you and show you exactly where things are and explain the why and the how of them. And if you have any questions throughout the process, please feel free to drop them in the chat. At the end, we're going to answer them to the best of our ability. So even if something like piques your interest 10-15 minutes into this, drop it in the chat and we will be happy to help you out at the end. All right, so what is the leadership coach? As David mentioned, AI is everywhere. And there's even, in all of our personal tools, AI is starting to permeate. And we hear a lot about it and it's a big buzzword. But with WildSpark, when it came time for us to really develop AI and infuse it into our platform, we were super intentional about how we built it. We didn't want to just slap a chatbot in there. We really wanted to make sure it was supporting the foundation of WildSpark in the process of WildSpark, which is what we call the leadership cycle. Now, the leadership cycle is an important option for leaders and for organizational executives and people in the HR seat to choose instead of what most organizations default to, which is the leadership dead end. The leadership dead end are these one-off experiences or events or certifications, right? Things that are very event and experience-based and driven, in that you go to this conference, you have a high experience, but then a lot of that doesn't end up translating into action. And a lot of that doesn't translate into visible, actionable growth in your organization that's really making an impact, right? And so with WildSpark, everything we build supports this leadership cycle, where first, our foundation is to identify, right? Identify where the individual leader is at the time they come into WildSpark. How are they doing in these 10 essential leadership skills that we measure in our platform? And then at a higher level, where is your entire organization when it comes to leadership skills? Other ways that we identify and pinpoint things in certain leaders is the DISC assessment or the Working Genius assessment. How can we know as much as we can about the individual and about where the organization is at? How can we know ourselves to lead ourselves and then also know where we need to work to grow to make the greatest impact? And that shifts us into the development phase where that guided development, that system that runs itself every month through WildSpark is where people are going to learn the leadership skills, be driven to apply the leadership skills. And that goes right into that last phase of this cycle, which is activate. Everything we do in WildSpark is meant to drive your people to action because we believe that learning without action is just simply entertainment. So when we set out to build AI, we really wanted it to be almost a connective tissue for this ecosystem that we have in the leadership cycle. And so you won't see AI as just a singular feature in WildSpark. Not only the way that it exists today, but then all of the awesome stuff we're going to build later in the year to enhance it. Everything about AI and WildSpark will be connecting these parts of the leadership cycle that so that your people are constantly building a culture of leadership and that they're focused on habits and doing, which is really what makes leadership impact. And so why did we build this though? What were some of the things in our product that we really felt like WildSpark's AI and the leadership coach being a connective tissue could improve? Well, first, we wanted to use this tool and leverage it in a way that ensured that the learning that your people are doing each month, whether it's through their monthly team lesson or whether it's through an individual development plan or both, we wanted to ensure that it translated into real behavioral change. We also wanted to make sure that we leveraged AI to keep momentum in between lessons, right? So much of leadership development depends on personal responsibility or taking the initiative to schedule time and think ahead about how you're going to grow and develop yourself. And so, how could our platform show up at the right time, say the right thing in the right place so that your people kept the momentum and not just experience leadership once a month in a lesson, but how are we going to take it and make it into a weekly and a daily practice? And then really everybody wishes that they had an on-demand coach all the time to walk them through and help them through all of their challenges. And I'm sure for most of you sitting in senior leadership seats or in HR seats, you wish that you could spread yourself super thin to help all of your people solve their problems in the most optimal way possible in the workplace. And so when we sought out to develop AI in WildSpark, we really wanted it to function as a coach, as an extension of you as the HR leader or the senior leader in the organization, and really as an extension of WildSpark, right? I like to talk to people and tell them that if WildSpark was a person, that's what the AI leadership coach would be. And so we wanted to tailor learning and development to the uniqueness of every person in your organization. And we'll dive into what that means and what some of the personalization in the AI leadership coach looks like. But really, these were the motivating factors because we know if we are helping your people succeed in these three areas, then you're going to actually see that supercharge in business impact where people are leaders in your culture and they're also developing multiplying leaders. Like they are leaders who put others first and who are thinking about building other leaders and what they do each day when they come to work. All right, so I am going to walk you through kind of the pillars of the AI leadership coach as they look like today, and even cast vision for what's coming in the future. And again, if at any point as I'm walking through these features, you have a question or something piques your interest, please drop something in the chat, and we will answer it at the end during our Q&A session. But first, I want to show you some of the on-demand coaching that's in the WildSpark platform. So many of you probably this month have gotten a nudge to come into WildSpark and maybe do a check-in with the coach. But really the foundation of the coach and where it all starts is in this part of the left side navigation where it says leadership coach. So here in the chat experience with the coach is where you and your people can come and just have 24/7 access to all of WildSpark's intellectual property. What you'll find when you land here, when you land on your first experience and you get here, you'll see this about page where really it walks you through the platform more in depth and gives you some understanding of how to use it. And then after you see that initial part of the experience, you'll come here and this will be the interface that you and your people see each day. But here at the bottom, we'll rotate out some options for your people that are some common challenges in the workplace. Um, and you can type anything in here really that's close to personal development, leadership, personal challenges, workplace and organizational culture challenges. And what we've added to this knowledge base is all of our leadership lessons, all of our resources in the resource library, our Working Genius and DISC resources, all of our podcasts. The Leadership Spark podcast is something that we release each business day. There are over 600 episodes. Those are all in here, as well as all of the webinars we've done over the years. So one way that you can interface with this is, let's just say I wanted to ask the coach about what are some of my blind spots that I should be aware of. Well, what the coach knows when I ask that question is my leadership level in terms of seniority. Do I supervise people or not? My job title. It knows my skills and those 10 core leadership skills that WildSpark develops each month and that you can see in your profile. It also knows what lessons I've completed in WildSpark, what some of my personal story is from the story lesson or my profile in WildSpark. And it also knows if you have assessments in WildSpark, like DISC and Working Genius, it knows those things. So what it can do is really answer questions and give me coaching that's tailored to me and everything I've done in WildSpark. And it gives me information based on WildSpark's expertise. And so when we think about this common leadership language that we have when your team uses WildSpark, the benefit to using the AI leadership coach as opposed to maybe going to ChatGPT or Claude or some other tool that's out there. I know some of you have used Copilot and Gemini just based on what some of your workplace tools are. It knows your context. It knows what you've done in WildSpark. It knows things about you as a leader and your people. So it can really help you have more personalized coaching that otherwise you would have to try and collect and infuse in some of these other tools out there. It also is just there 24/7. So, I mean, if your people think of something in the evening or there's something they're working through at work, like they can always come here night, day, anytime, and they can talk to the coach. And overall, just have some higher sustained usage because this tool is available to them whenever they need it. Like I mentioned, it's tooled with WildSpark's full catalog of all of our leadership learning and material, over a decade of information that we've curated and created. So that's all in there. So if you need something quick from a lesson, it's able to do that. It can also pull in links straight to a resource and take you there so you don't need to dig for something, right? So if I came here and I wanted to ask it for some feedback tools, it's going to show me exactly where it's pulling that information, and it's going to give me links that take me straight to those resources. So the webinar will take me straight to the webinar on YouTube, a WildSparks page on there. This here will take me straight to the lesson where this content comes from. So it's just a really convenient way to hop here and see what you need to see and get where you need to get to in the platform. And then finally, again, it's just using that common leadership language and frameworks and reinforcing what people are learning each month in WildSpark. So instead of having 5 different frameworks floating around for feedback, there are common ones that everybody has gone through in WildSpark and learned that they'll have access to. And so it's just reinforcing and getting more ROI out of what you're already using in WildSpark. All right. In addition to that, where using the AI leadership coach really gets supercharged is when you can tag others and you can get contextualized advice on how to work with somebody, how to give feedback, how to handle any situation. Anything that's publicly available in someone's WildSpark profile, another user can privately tag them and get advice on how to work with them or how to give feedback to them. That is super, super valuable, that otherwise you wouldn't have access to in some other AI tool. So let me show you really quick what tagging looks like. So for example, if there's somebody on my team who I want to give feedback to, but I want to really be cognizant of his Working Genius assessment, I can tag him. All you have to do is go to the chat bubble, type the @ function, and then a list of people in your organization will start to pull up in this drop-down menu. And this is only unique to your organization, so you're not going to see a bunch of random people in here or anything like that. But what it can do is just really like tailor any advice that you need to this individual. Like David, I can get tips on how do I prepare for a one-on-one meeting based on his personality from his DISC assessment, and it can give me really tailored advice on how to approach that one-on-one. I can get more tips based on his working genius results, which is how he shows up and does his best work and is energized, right? So there's all sorts of ways that you can tag people in WildSpark and learn more about them. And so it's just that extra added level of personalization that really supercharges this tool and helps you when it comes to challenges in your workplace, right? You can't coach everybody on how to work with others. So, like when we talk about the benefits of tagging people, you get personalized guidance that's going to get you better outcomes. They're not going to be any more forgotten assessments that just sit in a download folder or in a file folder, right? You're going to be able to actually pick up the assessments that you've done in WildSpark and actually apply them right then and there when you need it. It bridges different working styles, right? Like it's going to be aware of what somebody's job title is. Are they an individual contributor? Are they a manager? And how can you tailor how you're going to work with them based on what they know about their DISC or their working genius? And overall, just the hope here is that by using WildSpark's team related tagging features, that it improves overall your team dynamics. David's going to talk a little bit more about what that means long term for WildSpark, but just so you all know, tagging has been one of those things in the tool that not a lot of people are aware of. And so we're going to work really hard here over the next few months to make sure that your people know that this is accessible to them. And so if you're even talking to anybody about it, make sure you mention it so that people know they can tag somebody. It's private, but you can learn how to work with others through that tool. All right. So whenever we also built the leadership coach, we knew that if it's not in the WildSpark lesson, it's not really real to our users. So much about WildSpark really happens here in their monthly learning. And so we knew that it was really important to make sure the coach was a part of this process. And so really the first place that it made the most sense was in the My Committed Actions section, or some lessons it's called Take Action. It just depends on when the lesson was built. But what this does is at the end of your lesson, when you get to that point where you've filled out all of the different like text boxes and given responses to all the different exercises in your lesson, what the leadership coach does at this point is it assesses all of that information. It knows what the questions are. It knows what a user answered. And then it proactively suggests action steps that match some of the things you shared in your lesson. So they're supposed to be highly relevant to you, and also matches the skills and the content of the lesson. So we know whenever you get to this part of the lesson, sometimes like you get here and previously when it was just an open text box, it might have created like a lot of like mental load to try and, okay, what did I say earlier? Especially if somebody comes back to the lesson. And so what this does is it pulls in all the responses. The coach can then try and suggest something that you already mentioned earlier. So like when I was going through this lesson, I mentioned that I really liked the hero highlight hardship exercise and wanted to use it with my team. And so it suggested it to me. But if I don't like this one, I can ask the coach to suggest another, and it'll be able to bring one up for me. And then also, if I don't want to use this at all, like let's just say I have some options that I've already thought of, I can write my own. So that can be an option as well. And then for those of you who maybe have somebody in your organization that's like, I don't want to use AI, I'd like to do it myself. If you noticed, whenever I landed on this initial page, there was a link that said, I don't want to use the leadership coach. All I have to do is click that and it reverts them back to the old experience where it's an open text box for them to go ahead and write their actions and save them. All right. So what are the benefits to us just being able to proactively help you and your people set actions? It bridges that knowing to doing gap, right? And by giving some proactive, relevant suggestions, it gives them things that are achievable within the month. And then being personalized and relevant, it almost just helps create a lot of momentum at the end of the lesson to where you finish it and you have something that you're like, oh, wow, this is great. I didn't even have to think about it. And it even like recalls items that may have been forgotten for those users who maybe do their lesson in like 3 chunks or something like that, right? There are some people who break it up and do more like micro sessions to get their lesson done. So it helps them just remember what was put maybe earlier in the lesson. And again, it just helps them finish the lesson strong. I've talked to a lot of people and it said it just helped them keep the momentum to pushing done on it, and help them finish it faster. And so really it's just help. It's meant to just help people keep the momentum going and finishing their lesson, and then think about the actions they're going to use. They're going to take the rest of the month to really apply what they've learned. And then once you save at least one action in a lesson, you can save anywhere from 1 to 3. The coach is going to check in with you 7 days from when that action was saved. And so I have talked to a lot of people who have used this feature, and they're super excited just alone at the fact that it helps them remember things that otherwise they were having a hard time remembering and keeping top of mind. Now, there are kind of the exception users who in WildSpark, they'll write their action steps somewhere, they'll make it highly visible, maybe they'll set reminders, or they'll give themselves like some incremental steps to take to make progress each month. But really, so many people are busy, it's just nice to have the coach serve this up for you and help you walk through it each week to make sure when you get to the end of the month, you're completing the things that you committed to doing. So really quick, let me just show you what this looks like in the platform. So when you get to the AI leadership coach, you will see there's a folder here of weekly check-ins, and that's where we keep and store all of these by date. As this feature evolves, there'll be ways that this is categorized, maybe by month or by lesson. But for now, you'll see them tallied by date and the number of check-ins that you've had. And you can go here and really, it'll ask you just for some progress, like, have you made any action? And there'll be some yes or no buttons for you to get through that part quickly. But then there's a part where the coach will just ask you some pointed questions, and it'll give you some coaching based on what you said. So like here, I said, hey, I'm nervous about mentioning this to my team. What if they don't want to do it? And it validated my concern. It gave me a resource even to go and listen to a podcast, right? That was supporting what it was coaching me on. So each week, our goal is that your people keep what they committed to doing top of mind. The coach brings them back here. Most of you probably have already gotten this, but you'll see comes through 7 days from the time that you save the action step, and you get 3 check-ins per month. And also the timing of this is very intentional. So if you'll notice that when we do gamification in WildSpark, we really incentivize doing your lesson early in the month. And the reason why is because we want people to have a full solid month, really thinking through what they've learned, having lots of opportunities in the workplace to apply it and discuss it. And so the check-ins happen in these increments to make sure that people have enough intentional time to really work on what they said they were going to do. And even if somebody has completed it, the coach will ask them questions about what they learned and how they can turn what they did and what they learned into habits in the workplace. So you'll see this notification come through 7 days, 14 days, and 21 days from when the action step is saved. If you save multiple action steps, you have the opportunity to check in on all of your steps when you land here. And basically, what we wanted to do is just create built-in accountability. So many product champions and people who are sitting in your seat say that that's really been missing in WildSpark, and that anything that's product-led that keeps people accountable to doing the learning and then following through on what they learned is a huge win. So that's the win for us, is that more people are just saying they're doing what they said that they're going to do. And then you as the product champion, you're noticing just more impact around your organization and more benefits that you're seeing because people are really taking action and applying the stuff that they've learned. We also just want to create more visibility and mental recall, keep people engaged on a weekly basis. And really, I think one of the things I'm most excited about is that it offers points in a super meaningful way, right? Like, we're not rewarding a behavior for the sake of the behavior, but we're rewarding something that really is going to create lasting leadership impact. And then the goal, is that over time you see change that elevates your culture and your business. And so I've talked to a lot of people who have used this and gotten tons of feedback, and there are so many tweaks that we're going to make to this to make it even better. One thing that you can expect next month is that in the monthly task list within SparkWork, you're going to see your weekly check-ins there, and there will be like a countdown to when your next one is available, and you'll be able to not only access it through the notification, but you'll also be able to access it through the SparkWork task list. So that's something that you'll see in February, just to keep that top of mind and in the place where people already go to do their WildSpark lesson. All right. And I want to make sure we have time for everybody's questions. So I gonna bring it home here with this last component of the AI leadership coach. So, most of you have probably seen this. We released this back in May. And what we've done for team leaders in WildSpark, because we know that that's added work for people on top of their job responsibilities. And, they need all the help they can get in terms of how do I lead a great team meeting, and how do I keep the momentum going and keep this content relevant and people engaged each month. And so when everybody's done with the team meeting, everybody gets the opportunity to rate it. And then the team leader can come here, see the ratings that they got. And then they can work with the AI leadership coach, getting proactive coaching on their feedback, right? So here's kind of a large blown up view of what the team leader sees when they have feedback from the people in their WildSpark cohort or WildSpark team. And then the leadership coach pops up and it'll give you a little bit of just initial surface level coaching on like the initial findings of what people have said. And then there are ways that you can select some of these preloaded options here on the right to get more pointed advice, especially on like the open-ended feedback that people give you. It uses that to help coach you. Or you can just type anything into the chat that any challenge or anything that you might want help from, and the coach is able to coach you there in that panel. You can also access it here in the coach interface, the main area here. You'll see WildSpark meeting feedback is a folder, and then you can run through and see all your team meeting feedback there and chat with a coach here as well. So we have it in those two places, but this is just an added benefit for team leaders because we know that the team meeting is so often the linchpin for the WildSpark experience. And so for us, we really just wanted to make sure that team leaders were getting the support and the coaching that they need, and that you as the WildSpark product champion didn't necessarily have to do any of that on your own. So really to sum up before we jump into your questions, the vision that I just want to cast for AI and WildSpark is that it is an ecosystem, right? It helps us hit all three of these pillars of the leadership cycle, identify where you and your organization are at and your people are at in their leadership skills, develop them with a scalable, sustainable system each month that's always there for them and that's hitting on 1 to 2 core leadership skills each month, and then driving everything to action so that you're seeing the visible impact in your workplace from people who are following through on what they're learning in the lesson. So we want to drive higher engagement and create habit loops that your people will actually use. Really want to cut a lot of the AI noise that's out there with personalization and make sure that our coaching is tailored to what we know about them in WildSpark and what we know about their teammates. And then really overall, just trying to drive a culture shift, right? Like if leaders are spending more time in WildSpark each week, if leaders are focusing on action, and not waiting for one-off events or book clubs, they're going to put more learning into practice regularly, and you're going to see that impact that's really going to help your business. So I'm excited to see if we have any questions. David, how are we doing?
Coming in. I want to while y'all are other folks are putting in their questions and we're seeing those roll in, I want to hit on something that you said, because really the impact of the AI coach is in the leader's day-to-day leadership, but also in the ability to be a part of a team and to lead a team. And the best way to lead a team is to have insights on your team. The best way to be a valuable member of a team is to know your team. And so if you saw the part where you can tag the AI coach, or how the AI coach contextualizes its feedback, the way that one of the ways that that the AI coach really contextualizes and personalizes that coaching and feedback is through the use of not only your skills growth and your skills development history trajectory, but also your personality assessment that we have in WildSpark, DISC and Working Genius. DISC is really around how you and your team are wired, and Working Genius is how you and your team approach work. And so if you don't have those insights as a part of WildSpark, or you're curious of how to get those insights into your platform, reach out to your CS leader. That's available as a part of our insights package we're calling Team IQ. So that's available to bring into the AI coach, really leverage it in your day-to-day workflow. Many assessments, we all use assessments. A lot of the times, though, those assessment results end up in a folder or a binder that never gets pulled out, or it's just a placard that you print out and put on your doorway. This really helps bring those insights into the daily workflow of a leader, help them lead with intention and insights, and be more impactful in the way they lead others. So we do have a few questions. Let's start with Kimberly Steiner asked, is there a guide for participants on how to maximize the value of the leadership coach outside of the check-ins?
That's a great question. So initially what we have is in updates.wildspark.com, which is where we share updates about things that are new. We do have an FAQ article that walks people from everything like what is this all the way down to like what does it know about me and how can I use it. As far as other guides, Kimberly, I would love to know like what else would be useful. We have a great team that can put together resources to help you. I don't know if you need like something like a demo video or anything else. I would love to know what else. But as far as all those questions that your people are probably going to have, you can definitely access them here in this FAQ article at updates.wildspark.com, which I'll drop into the chat.
And Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, the first time a user logs in with the coach being live, they are guided through like a guided experience on how to use the coach.
Yes. So also here, the About Your Coach section. Everybody sees this in their first session with the coach when they land on this page in the left navigation or in the bottom menu right in the middle of the mobile app. So this is here for them to help them kind of understand a little bit more about what it's capable of doing. But also, if you have any ideas or suggestions about what would really engage your people, totally open to those and can be responsive to that.
Awesome. Daisy asks, what if a team member does not want to be tagged by someone else?
Well, I would say that what a team member has in WildSpark already can be seen by somebody. So like your profile here in WildSpark, if you go up here to the top right corner, it has your story, and it has if your organization has taken the DISC assessment and the Working Genius assessment, those will be visible to other people in your organization. It has your job title there. It tells others whether you are a people leader or a manager or not. So all of those things that are already not publicly, but available to others to see in WildSpark in your profile, that is the information that people would be able to tag and learn from. There isn't anything about your lesson responses. Those are all private. There isn't anything about your chats with the coach. It's as far as the personal information you put in a lesson, when somebody is tagged, none of that is able to be seen by others. The only thing we pull is what's already visible in the profile. So I think probably letting them know that like this is already available in your profile is probably a good way to let them know that like none of their personal information is being shared or none of their lesson responses are being shared when somebody tags them.
Awesome. Yeah, and it really enables leaders to be able to like if I was coming into a meeting and like before I want Rachel and I have a one-on-one every week, and it's really useful for me to say, hey, I want to pitch this idea to Rachel based on how she receives ideas, how she processes ideas, and based on what part of the ideation process she really thrives in, how should I pitch this to her? And it will give me a great framework for how to approach my one-on-one with Rachel on even presenting an idea or giving feedback, etc. Mark asks, is there a way for admins to see how their teams are using the AI leadership coach?
Not yet, but there will be down the road. The reporting tab in WildSpark for organizational executives, it helps you see like how people are engaging with the lesson and some of the other tasks that they have each month. Long term, we want to put usage information there. And we also want to put information on like how many people are following through on their actions each month so that you can kind of draw the line between leadership skills and actions that people are taking. So that's on our roadmap of things to do. We just don't have it at the moment.
Awesome. Taylor asks, this is a great question. We're very passionate about this as well. She says, hey, how does the AI leadership coach complement and not replace human leadership and mentoring?
That is a really good question. So I think the AI leadership coach is always going to drive you to something relational because it's built on WildSpark's sort of stance on leadership, right? Like straight out the gate, I think the thing that makes WildSpark different is that we believe leadership is inherently about others. Now, there is a huge component to knowing yourself, to know how to lead yourself, huge component of self awareness and how you think, feel, act, and how that impacts others. But so much about the content that the Wild Spark Leadership Coach is built on is about relationships, and it really empowers you to do that. So I would say that, like, whenever it's developing action steps for you at the end of the lesson, it's definitely not suggesting anything that should happen in a vacuum. Like, there may be times when it's, maybe read this particular book, but all of the action steps that we kind of created foundationally for it, they were others and people driven, because that's really, like, philosophically what we believe about leadership is that if you're not acting, you're not really growing. And if that action is not impacting other people, then that's not really leadership. And so you'll notice that when you talk to the coach about really any topic that we've put into our knowledge base, it really is very relational and others focused. So that's one thing. And then, the other is that it doesn't really in any way replace, like, the team meeting experience, right? Like that relational component that your people get each month in terms of how do they sort of understand and download what they're learning and then talk to others and apply it. Um, it's only going to supplement that, especially with a feature like the team meeting feedback feature, where people can be just brutally honest about how their team meeting's going. And then you, as an organizational executive or a product champion, can go in and see from a star rating perspective, like how those lessons or how those meetings are going. In the reports tab. And so I would say it supplements for sure, and just the way it coaches. It will never say, sit here and read 27 books and, you're a leader now, congrats. It will always be about how you're having a positive influence on others and thinking about the leader behind you, thinking about the next leader, which is really the philosophy that WildSpark is built upon.
That's really good. Taylor, I'm really glad you asked that question, because while we're building the AI coach and talking about how to bring it to market, we were very, very passionate, and our conviction is that we anchor on peer-to-peer connection. We anchor on people first leadership. The pain point that we felt from a lot of our product champions and leaders was that they just can't be everywhere at all times. And there are moments that a leader needs a quick piece of advice, a quick framework, a quick, hey, I don't want to take this binder out and look at this person's working genius and then map out what that means in this context. And so it provides that instant momentary guidance and coaching in the day-to-day. It certainly does not replace the power of human mentorship and connection. And our philosophy, like Rachel said, around leadership development is that it works best in the context of a team. And so we will always champion peer connection and people first leadership, while being able to enable leaders in the moment with the tools they need to fill in the gaps. Any other questions? Let's see. I don't see any more. I'll say this once again. We're extremely pumped about the launch of the AI coach. It's the first step in how WildSpark is continuing to evolve to develop and equip leaders to lead well and to really make an impact, not just in the people they lead, but in the business. And part of that impact is knowing themselves and knowing those they lead. And so our next webinar series you'll hear about it this end of this week. Our next webinar is going to be around team insights and how WildSpark is equipping leaders to know themselves, to know others, and not just that, but how WildSpark is building systems to make those insights accessible to leaders, so they're not stuck in the moment, not knowing insights, or they're not leading blindly. Josh Swing will be leading that. A lot of y'all know who Josh Swing is. He's a leadership expert, but he's also a part of the WildSpark team. He'll be talking about team insights, the power of team insights, specifically the working genius and DISC, how those are both very different, but how they work in tandem to really bring a powerful duo around team insights and how the AI coach continues to support that. So hope you're here about that soon. Would love for y'all to join, be a part of that. And then I'll leave with this too. These showcases, webinars, didn't plan to say this, but I really want to share it because if you're on this webinar, then you really care about WildSpark, you care about your people. And as a company, we really want our product champions and those who are pioneering WildSpark in their companies, those who are really championing leadership development at their organizations. We want you to feel a sense of community amongst those who are doing similar things. And so these cadences of webinars will evolve to more Q&A type sessions where we'll have other product champions sharing challenges, really building a community of leadership leaders who are leading the vision, carrying the vision, leading the efforts in their company. So be on the lookout for more and more communications. We really don't want you to be leading these programs in your company in a silo. Once you feel supported, a part of a community, WildSpark's philosophy of leading in the context of a team extends into even that. How can we help y'all feel more like you're part of a team, part of a community? So that's our long-term vision. Stay on the lookout for those communications as well. But thank you all for joining. I know that I've gotten a lot out of hearing Rachel cast vision for the AI coach and seeing in action. And so can't wait to share more.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any product suggestions or questions, please feel free to hit that help button in WildSpark or reach out to us and let us know how it can be better. But appreciate y'all jumping on today, and we'll see you at the next webinar.